Hello everybody, Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is October 23rd, and right now we're looking at the current satellite imagery of the Northeast Pacific Ocean. Here's Hawaii in the west coast of the United States over here. You can see the cool air coming down from the Arctic. That you got a bunch of pop-up showers and maybe some thunderstorms hidden there somewhere. There's a big low pressure system over the Gulf of Alaska, and this is bringing a frontal system down across the parts of the Pacific Northwest and mostly Vancouver Island right now. You can see the jet stream outlined by these thick clouds that are kind of look like a river going across the Pacific Ocean. So this is a really cool visual of seeing our weather patterns from up above. And we got a lot of active weather to talk about in this video, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So looking at this morning's European model, this is looking at troughs and ridges. Blues and greens are troughs of low pressure. Reds and oranges and stuff are ridges of high pressure. So generally good weather under high pressure systems, unsettled weather under low pressure systems. So if we play this out, this evening, you can see we got this big storm system over the Gulf of Alaska and up over the Yukon and the Northern Territories. You can see we're right on this gradient right now as it starts shifting to the east, and we got this frontal system coming through. It's going to be in the form of a moderate atmospheric river. It's going to be bringing some nice rainfall totals. It's going to be raining over a lot of Friday for a lot of the western portions of the Pacific Northwest. And as we play it through Saturday, look at this. We got a storm system that forms right off the coast. This is the storm system that we were looking at last week and that I was really wanting us to pay close attention to. The chances of it being a major windstorm have gone down a lot. However, there's still potential for some localized windstorm impacts for the area, and there's still some lingering uncertainty, even though we're still a couple days out. A little changes in the track and the intensity of the storm system will determine the exact impacts we're going to be getting. So as we play this out more, it weekends during the late evening on Saturday, and as we go in the Sunday morning, maybe there's another little low pressure system that comes in behind it as well. That's just going to be more bringing in more rain and stuff and not really winds with it. Then we kind of take a chill pill on the weather for on Monday, maybe some showers around. Then another storm system looks to develop off the coast. There's some uncertainty with this storm system as well, and this has got windstorm potential as well. Not as good as potential as this one on Saturday, but this is going to be another one to look at as well. And then I'll start to disagree after that. But we look to remain somewhat or pretty active all the way through next week as well. So now let's take a closer look at things. Hawaii's down here. Here's the west coast of the United States. You can see our frontal system moving through. This is looking at pressure in millibars, and these colors are the anomaly. So basically the pressure compared to normal. So blue is below normal pressure and orange is above normal pressure. So you can see below normal pressure is outlining our frontal system that's coming through tonight through Friday morning and most of the day on Friday. Here comes our storm system. It's not a terribly deep low, but there's a decent pressure gradient on the south side that's going to lead to some localized strong winds on the coastlines and may bring some strong winds into the areas as inland, as well as you can see this pressure gradient still here, even though this is only a 990 millibar low, but even these can bring good storms. Here comes another low pressure system in the Northern California, will likely bring some gusty winds. Some models are still showing potential for maybe like a localized windstorm on the Northwest California coastline, but it's going to be a really small system that dies really quickly. Then we get a bit of a break on Monday, high pressure builds over parts of the Pacific Northwest. Then here comes this next storm system. This one is the European model's been kind of trending a little closer with this, and this is a 971 millibar low. This would bring a major windstorm if it came directly into us. However, it's also not that far away on the small run. It's going into the northern Vancouver Island. There's likely still be a strong cold front that would move through, bring some localized strong winds to some area. Not a major windstorm by any means with a track like this. However, I want to show you what last night's run. This is the last night's European model run. You can see a little disagreement in the exact strength of the Saturday system. This one model run from last night had a slightly stronger weak system in the Northern California. Let's look at this storm system on Tuesday and the Wednesday. Look at this. It brings 976 millibar low right into the Washington coastline and Vancouver Island. Look at that really tight pressure. It might be a little bit hard to see, but I'll zoom in here in a second. that would bring some major winds. And let's zoom in on that right now. Look at that pressure gradient. You got 991 millibars all the way up here in Vancouver, and it's already down up the 1016 millibars down here along the Oregon Washington border. That's about like a over 20 millibar difference just over just western Washington. So that's why this would cause some strong winds. Let's look at the wind gust map. So here, this is just for fancy reasons. This is a very big outlier. There's not much model showing this, but there's maybe at least a slight potential of this. Look at this. It brings, let's look at the look at this. It brings 70 plus mile per hour winds to almost all of western Washington, northwest Oregon, up to Vancouver as well. It brings some gusts over 80 miles per hour, the parts of the San Juans, 100 miles per hour off the coastline as well. So that's why we kind of need to watch this, even though this is not a likely scenario. It's just something to keep in the back of our minds, and maybe the models will trend towards a windier solution, or it'll just completely go away as I am expecting, but just something to keep at the back of our minds for now. So now let's look at precipitation. This is a precipitation over a 6-hour period. So every time I click this, is 6 hours goes by. So this is about, that little orange area is about 2.26 inches of rainfall over 6 hours. So that's maybe about 3/4 of an inch per hour rainfall rate. So pretty decent rainfall. Here comes the frontal system. And the main thing of rain is going to be coming through the morning. Plenty of rain for the mountains. Most of the rain moves through by the afternoon, but we're remaining to have showers and potential for some thunderstorm action, maybe some convergence zone action Friday evening over parts of Whidbey Island. So any events going on in the afternoon, evening might have some rainy impacts. As we go overnight Saturday, we get a bit of a break before our main weather story of the weekend comes in on Saturday morning. The strongest winds are going to be expected in the afternoon and evening across the area. You can see this pressure gradient setting up, bringing widespread rainfall, also going to bring thunderstorm potential, especially on the coastline. Look, notice how it kind of looks like a little bits of popcorn on the coast in these little blue splotches and stuff. That's showing that there's convection or intense rain showers or potential thunderstorms that are going to be sitting there on the coast, because when you get that cooler air going over the relatively warm waters of the Pacific Ocean and right into the coastal mountains, it can increase those rainfall rates and help the uplift moisture and allow more condensation, stronger updrafts, and the potential for stronger showers and thunderstorms on the coast. That kind of continues all the way in the Sunday, and then another little weaker low pressure system moves in with more rain and rain showers on Sunday as well. Maybe some showers continuing the Monday morning, maybe even Monday afternoon for the mountain locations, but we look to be dry most of Monday for a lot of us. And then here comes that big storm system on Tuesday and Wednesday. That could bring a strong frontal system and with more heavy rain, gusty winds, maybe a very small chance of a windstorm as well with that. So we got plenty of active weather coming out. If we play this through, we got another system coming through maybe on Wednesday and Thursday next week. And then the European model shows a really strong atmospheric river coming in later next weekend. So this is kind of getting into the fantasy range, but models are continuing to keep us active through the time period. Here's the rainfall through this weekend. This is about through Sunday evening, October 26th. And you can see maybe up to 2 inches for Seattle, also around the same for Portland, maybe up to 2 to 3 inches for the coastlines, over maybe 3 to 4, maybe isolated 5-inch totals up there in the mountains as well, especially in southwest BC. You can see the rain shower over the San Juans, parts of Whidbey Island as well, and down obviously near Sequim and stuff near the the northeast Olympic Peninsula. However, some convergence activity might increase some rainfall totals for parts of Whidbey Island, Camino as well. It's a little hard to see in there, but we kind of get the idea. I'll zoom in for a second here. You can see it maybe up towards 1.5 inches, isolated 2 inches maybe for parts of Island County. That's going to really be dependent on exactly where those rain showers are going to set up, and it's hard to know exactly where those are going to set up days in advance because they're so isolated in nature. So let's look at some lightning potential. The main lightning potential is going to be on Saturday. There's maybe some on the coastline for Friday evening as well, but it's not looking that impressive. Saturday, look at maybe even some for the Willamette Valley, parts of the Puget Sound as well. I'm really eyeballing Saturday at late afternoon and evening for parts of Whidbey Island, maybe the Snohomish County area, northern King County area. There's probably going to be some thunderstorm potential. Look at that. You can see the green blob over South Whidbey up towards Lake Stevens and stuff, maybe Woodinville as well, even maybe up off some of the beaches of Vancouver as well up there. Some of the coastline may continue all the way through Saturday night. maybe a couple few isolated storms on Sunday morning as well for the coastline. Maybe some more activity as that other weak low pressure system moves in on Sunday as well, but mainly Saturday is the main thunderstorm potential. So now let's look at this is surface wind gusts. So this is like about right when I'm recording this video at 5 p.m. on Thursday. Let's go through this evening and in the Friday morning. You can see mainly gusty winds along the coastlines in the northwest interior, especially up on Hurricane Ridge. That's why Hurricane Ridge has got its name, because they're always windy up there every time we get even a weak system moving through. So this atmospheric river slash pretty strong cold front moves through. We can see maybe some gusts approaching 50 miles per hour, 40, 50 miles per hour for parts of northern Whidbey Island, Fidalgo, and the Salmon Islands. Maybe some gusty winds for Bellingham as well. It's going to continue through about noon on Friday, or a bit before noon. Parts of the Puget Sound will also be gusting over 30 miles per hour as well. You can see some gusty winds along the Oregon coast as well, and those will continue all the way in the afternoon for Oregon, and the Willamette Valley and parts of Portland as well will remain gusty over there. That system moves through. Then here comes our big storm this weekend. You can see it's already bringing gusty winds in on Saturday. Look at Willamette Valley. Now we're starting to get gusts up to 45 for the Willamette Valley. The Willamette Valley does not get very strong winds very often, so even over 40 miles per hour can cause quite a bit of power outage activity and around Portland as well. Here comes the back end of the storm system, though. You can see the European malls got a nice swath of 60 mile per hour plus winds just off the coastline. Some malls are showing this even stronger than that, and coming right into the coastline as well. So we're going to need a watch. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. And I'll show you what some of the other malls are showing here as well. Then that moves through Saturday evening. What I'm watching is the surge of westerly winds down the Stray One to Fuca. Malls have been pretty in good agreement. There's going to be some sort of surge of westerly winds that's going to impact parts of northern Whidbey Island, Fidalgo, maybe parts of Skagit, western Skagit County, and like western Whatcom County maybe, and the southern San Juans as well, and other places along the Stray One. If you can see there's a little orange dot right there, that's about closing in on 60 miles per hour. So it would be a short, intense burst of wind for maybe a couple hours at most Saturday evening if it does happen. So just be prepared for that. That could cause some power outages, especially earlier in the year. There's still some uncertainty though with that. Then the winds kind of calm down. We may get a little blustery again on Sunday, but nothing to write home about. And then if we go into Tuesday, it's going to be highly dependent on exactly where that storm track goes. Look at that. Where the center of that storm goes all the way up in the Vancouver Island, it brings 120 mile per hour wind gusts in that what we call a sting jet on the backside of that cyclone. So that's why we do not want that going right in the Western Washington, or that would be very damaging. So we kind of want to keep that up there and away from us, so that we don't have any serious impacts to the region. But you can see, even though it's all the way up here, we're still getting gusts over 50 miles per hour over parts of Western Washington. We're getting almost hurricane force wind gusts on Hurricane Ridge, so it makes sense why it's named that. You can see even some really strong winds for parts of straight Georgia up there, as well as the winds get funneled up through the waterways up there. So it's really interesting to see all our topography features related to the wind. So now I want to show you the HRRR model for this storm system, the front moving through tonight and the Friday morning, and especially the storm system on Saturday. You can see the winds are already pretty breezy right now, especially over Whidbey Island, parts of the northwest interior. Winds really start to pick up early Friday morning before sunrise. You can see some intense winds on the coastline are also possible right as this front moves through. There's probably going to be some intense heavy rain and blowing rain on the coastline as this moves through. There's potential for some gusts over 60 miles per hour as that wind really presses up against the coastline on Friday morning, especially along the Long Beach area, Westport, maybe up towards La Push even, as well as along the Oregon coast as well. That's going to be pretty short-lived. You can see gusty winds moving inland as well, impacting parts of Seattle as well. Might cause some probably will cause some power outages on Friday morning as well. Nothing too crazy though. Maybe remain a little breezy through the evening. However, I want to show you Friday. So the HRRR model has probably the most intense solution, showing the heightened potential of this storm system on Saturday. It only goes out 48 hours, but look at this. We can already see these reds and browns showing up. And look at this. Look at these reds starting to come in. This is as far as the HRRR model can go out, but I want to show you the pressure of the HRRR model. it shows this storm being a 983 millibar low starting to come in. It's weakening a little bit, but it's coming in at a decent pace, so it's not going to weaken a lot as it comes in. If this solution were to happen, which there is potential for this would likely cause a bigger windstorm. This would likely actually cause a windstorm. You can see this low pressure system still off the coast, and it's already producing gusts well over 40 miles per hour for parts of the Puget Sound, Western Washington. And look at this bent back occlusion. It's basically where the winds wrap back around the low pressure system, and this is where the tightest pressure gradient is. Look at this. We're starting to approach 100 miles per hour. This would weaken likely as it comes in the coast, but we're already seeing wind gusts starting to approach 60, 70 miles per hour down near Cape Disappointment, Long Beach area as well. And this is the storm. It's barely even come in yet. This would likely bring very strong winds into the coastline. Unfortunately, we can't see anywhere past hour 48. The HRR is a shorter range model, so it doesn't go out as far, but this would be basically the highest potential for wind on Saturday is if a solution like this were to happen. This is unlikely. Most models don't show this happening, but there's at least some potential of this. So a generic storm is kind of expected on Saturday. However, there is potential for something stronger as well. So just keep that in the back of your mind as well on Saturday. We won't know exactly for sure until the day of. Now let's look at the NAM model, the North American model. Kind of similar agreement for this front coming in later tonight. You can see some gusts towards 50 up there in northern Whidbey Island. Weaker winds along the Puget Sound and southern Whidbey Island and Camano Island areas. However, still remaining pretty breezy and blustery. Then the front moves through during the middle around noon, kind of calms those winds down. Here comes our storm system on Saturday. The NAM has the storm system coming in a little slower and farther south. Notice how it's bringing much stronger winds to the Oregon and Willamette Valley areas. Look at this. We're starting to approach 60 miles per hour for the Willamette Valley. This is also on the higher end of things, but it's just showing that there's at least a couple models showing these stronger solutions. You can see some 70 mile per hour winds going in the Cape Disappointment. Probably some awesome wave watching if this happened. This is getting towards the late evening though. The HRR is also earlier with the storm coming in during around noon in the early afternoon. The NAM brings it in the later evening. This would keep most of the strong winds down maybe the southern Puget Sound down to the Willamette Valley, southwest Washington. This will also bring some strong winds to the eastern Washington as well, and the mountains as well. So those back countries might get some strong winds as well. So there is higher potential for some strong winds on Saturday, but generally we're only expecting just your generic run-of-the-mill fall storm system on Saturday with a slight chance of it being something more intense. So now let's look at the Climate Prediction Center, the 6 to 10 day outlook. This is for the 29th to November 2nd. Near normal, the above normal temperatures expected for the West Coast. Generally, it's that warmer Pacific air kind of flows in as these storm systems move up to the north or into the Pacific Northwest. Above average precipitation expected with near normal around California. That is to be expected with these storm systems coming in. Generally the same thing for the 14-day temperature outlooks. October, this is from Halloween, the November 6th. You can see maybe a slight chance of above normal temperatures for the Pacific parts of Western Washington and other parts of the Pacific Northwest, mostly favored down in the Southwest United States where there's likely to be more high pressure as the storm systems flow up to the north. You can see almost the same thing on the precipitation outlook. Above average precipitation for the Pacific Northwest and maybe near normal with California. California will be periodically clipped by the rainfall. So active weather looks to continue into the end of the last week of October and the first week of November as well. So anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this forecast. I know there was a lot to talk about. There's a lot of storm systems. We're getting to a pretty active time of the year. But we kind of know the drill. We know that these storms and active weather patterns happen this time of the year, so we're usually pretty prepared. There's an odd chance for maybe more intense storms over the next half a week or so. However, most of the storms kind of look to be run of the mill. So just have the potential there. Keep in mind that there is potential for a stronger storm system. So I'm going to be heading out to the coast next couple days. So I'm going to do some storm chasing on the coast for the thunderstorms and maybe the strong wind as well. So I'm not going to be able to post any video updates, but you got the general idea of things, and I will talk to you guys in the next video whenever I'm able to do that. So take care and God bless.